What's up, OSIMA Ball Reviews? Keegan here, and today we're taking a look at the new Hammer Dark Web Hybrid. Now, let's talk about the specs, and then we'll talk about more about just my general thoughts on the ball, and then we'll actually get into the lane. Features Aggression Hybrid HK22 at 500 to 1000 CA. Now, this is supposedly the same cover as the Black Widow 2.0 Hybrid. However, I have thrown both of those balls, and they feel very distinct to me. And I think that is at least mostly contributed to the surface of it, but I just didn't get very similar feels out of the two different covers, which is kind of really weird considering that they are supposed to be the exact same. Then it also features a modified spheroid core, or dot core, yeah, it's just called modified spheroid, with a 2514 RG and a, have this back over here, 48 differential. Honestly, going into this, I just expected it to be kind of like a benchmark type ball, just something kind of a little bit versatile, something you can use your hand positions a lot to manipulate, especially with that surface. It's something that I feel can be shined up a little bit, could be made even duller if you just really need some earlier hook, and I just feel it's going to be a really usable piece overall. And I loved my Web Pearl when I had it. I tried to get another one for this video, the Smoke Green version, or Smoke Jade, I think is what it was called. Not the Hopkinsville version. I never actually got to throw that one, but I loved my Brunswick Web Pearl, and it couldn't find another one, sadly. That being said, let's head on to the lanes and see if what I thought about this ball was right. Alright, I actually have an experience here that I didn't get to do last time, or any other time in my filming. I got to bowl on fresh oil, and then I got to bowl on transitioned oil. And we'll get to what I mean by transitioned oil here in a minute. Let's talk about what we're seeing on the fresh oil here. This is an interesting ball. I mean, you can see I've got a pretty good amount of room for what I can do with this thing and still strike. And I was kind of playing around with hand positions, as you can kind of just tell by how it's rolling. Sometimes, that was a very lucky trip, 710. Sometimes the ball will be a little bit quicker, a little bit more responsive. Other times it'll be a little bit slower, a little bit smoother. I was able to do a lot with just my hand position with this to control how it shapes, and honestly I really enjoyed that. The only downside I can see is for someone who maybe doesn't really throw the ball consistently, may just be a touch inconsistent, because, which granted, now that we're on the transition lanes, I can kind of get out of that comment because I didn't really like how it sounded. With a little bit more friction, this ball does have a lot more identity to it. On the fresh, I couldn't really get the best read on it because I was able to do a lot with it, so I wasn't able to tell what it wanted to do, which is a good thing, and I'll get to that here in a little bit during like the arsenal building portion of the video. But that was a real lucky trip, and it's just, the ball, like, you can tell that now that we have a little bit of friction, it is suddenly more decisive with movement, which is always a good thing whenever you're doing what I was doing, which is like right here. I threw a gutter before that shot, I'm going to be honest with you. And I think before that one as well. With what this ball is trying to do, at least when there is friction, it's something that I've learned that you can really learn to trust into the friction, which is a very good thing, especially for how it's actually shaping, which I'll get more into the shaping part here in a second. This may be a little bit of a longer video, I'm going to be honest with you, if you're still watching at this point, because I have a long way to say a little, and because it's the only way I'm going to feel content with describing what I'm seeing here. And because if I just say it bluntly, it just sounds rude, and I don't mean that. First off, I'm just going to say, I do enjoy this ball reaction a lot. It is going to work its way into my tournament bag. Maybe a pin down one would work its way better into my tournament bag. And I can definitely see it being useful on house shots. I'm actually going to be subbing in a league here in a little bit where I'm going to be throwing it on house shots. So, I'll actually probably do a little, like, we'll get to that here in a minute. Small announcement later in the video. I keep saying we'll get to that here in a minute. Here is the minute. This ball is... I could not find its full identity on the house shot that I was on, the fresh house shot that I was bowling on. It didn't have much to say. It just kind of did what I told it to do, which is a reaction that I love. I love bowling balls that are... I've actually recorded this once before, and I just didn't like how it sounded. I'm still not entirely sold on how to say this. It's versatile, and that's a really, really good thing. You can do a lot with this ball. And I think malleable is the word that I really want to use when describing how this ball works. If I try to roll it a little bit more, come up the back of it, it'll smoothen out, it'll slow down when it comes to its friction response. If I want to get around it a little bit more, it all of a sudden will respond really well. And it really is the definition of a hybrid, to where you can kind of bring out some solid aspects, some smoother aspects. You can bring out some sharper pearl aspects, depending on what you're trying to do with it. And I love that versatility. It also is the type of ball that, and I don't mean this to say it's a bad ball, but it's going to ask more of me as a bowler to throw it right. Because some people will say, this is a great ball, it gives me so much miss room. And I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be a good thing if you were in a strictly scoring environment. However, a ball like this that will respond to just fairly small hand changes and give you very different reactions, I'm not going to call the ball inconsistent, because it's not. If you do the same thing, it does the same thing. But it's going to, for me personally, I know that that's a redundant statement, but for me, that's a good thing. It makes me a better bowler to know that if I want a certain reaction, I got to throw it a certain way. Other people have seen probably a little bit more forgiveness out of it. However, this is also very limited experience on my end. Honestly, I'm going to just go ahead and say I really like this ball, and I'm looking forward to spending some more time with it, both on house and on sport. I'm not bowling on sport shot with it for another little bit. They still got 2 more weeks of cheetah on the Friday night sweeper that I work in the shop. And I'm not bowling on cheetah because I don't got urethane right now, because I'm middle of the bag reset. And urethane's kind of low on the priority list. Great. Anyways. It's an interesting ball. I do want to spend a little bit more time with it. However, I feel depending on how you drill it and what surface prep you have it at, you're going to get a good amount of, like I said, malleability. It's the word that I keep gravitating towards, and I know it's the right word, but I always struggle to actually get it out of my mouth. But that's what I keep coming back to. It's a very malleable ball. It's not soft, but you can do a lot with it. But I've been rambling a lot. Let's get to the arsenal building, and let's wrap this video up. First off, a ball that's actually probably going to be a staple in these arsenal building sections, because now it's the only ball that I have experience with. That video also coming today. We'll go Atlas for the first ball. Second ball. So you got two options. Lower rev, I would go Infinity Ball 2, Dark Web Hybrid Ball 3. Or we'll do what I did in the last version of this video, and let's just build out a hammer bag for the rest of it. I do really like the Atlas, so I'm keeping that in there. But Ball 2, Dark Web Hybrid, Ball 3, let's go Scorpion. You know, it's kind of just, it is a true middle. I need to drill mine up. Last ball, throwing last reactive ball, throwing a radioactive vibe. And then ball number 5, it will always be the same in these videos. Ball number 1 and ball number 5 are not going to change. It's the middle 3 that really matter. And that's going to be a purple hammer. Now, I do feel like explaining how I kind of look at the ball system when I suggest an arsenal. And that's, I try to look at bowling balls that, depending on your drilling and surface prep, is probably going to give you the most range of motions. And there's two reasons I do that. First off, this is how a lot of people are going to operate, and that's going to be 2 3-ball bags, 5 bowling balls, and a spare ball. That's a standard type of arsenal setup. Second reason, Junior Gold. I did Junior Gold when I was younger. I wish there were, well, they may have been around, but they weren't as prevalent as they are now. I wish there were more ball reviews back then that really kind of dug into reaction types and actual ball motion descriptors and helped explain them a little bit better. But you're limited to 5 balls. That includes your spare ball. It has to be in those 5 balls. Despite what some people try to say, I don't know why they did 5, where 6 was going to take up the exact same amount of space, because most people just take 1 ball out of a 3-ball roller. But that's just me. But that's kind of my philosophy on how to make the arsenal portion of this video. But anyways, let's finally wrap this up. I have been OSIMA Ball Reviews. Oh shoot, I missed again. I hope I don't miss y'all next time. Thanks for watching.